G'day, my name is Felix. Welcome to my little corner of the back rooms. Today we're checking out more 14 Days with You. Let's get into it. This one, I think. Alright. Eventually, we ended up finishing our meals and decided to do a bit of window shopping to pass the time. I had nothing else to do today, and Ren seemed insistent on spending the rest of his time with me, so I agreed. We passed by a few clothing stores, ice cream stands, surfboard rentals, and many other interesting buildings, though nothing really caught my interest. But just as I thought I'd lost all hope, one store in particular catches my eye. In one of the display windows, I spot this cute little rabbit plushie in the style of Haruko's likeness. I mean, it even came with this limited edition sorcerer outfit and everything. I couldn't believe they were selling these things here of all places, and at such a cheap price too. Ren seems to take notice of what I was not so subtly gawking at, but before we could enter the store, the cashier walks in front of the display and blocks our view. She drops a box of miscellaneous items at her feet and begins stocking the shelf next to the plushie before she finally notices us standing by the window. I didn't miss the way her eyes widen at Ren, obviously taking an immediate liking to him, and almost shamelessly pushes a strand of hair behind her ears before giving him a small wave. Sneaking a glance at the taller man beside me, I noticed how Ren wasn't even paying any attention to her, instead keeping himself busy by scratching at his jaw and kicking at the stray cobblestone rocks by his feet. But the cashier seemed adamant about getting Ren's attention, considering how she felt the need to abandon her spot by the shelves and make her way towards us.
Hi there, welcome to Seaside Trinkets. My name is Olivia. Can I help you with anything?
Oh no, we're just looking around, but thanks for...
We recently got some new beachwear merchandise if you're interested in checking them out.
But she's seriously ignoring me. Damn, that's cold.
Oh, you kind of look like someone I know. Have we met before? Maybe we went to the same school.
Me? I don't think so.
Really? I definitely would have remembered a face like yours.
Girl!
Actually, now that I've got a good look at you...
I watch as she shamelessly takes in Ren's appearance before crossing her arms over her chest and leaning back.
You also remind me of one of those characters from a cartoon that's been gaining a ton of traction here. Apparently one of the locations from the show is based on Colin Bay's main beach.
Are you talking about Attack on Giant?
Is that the name of it? Then yeah. I don't really know much about those cartoons, but our company recently started selling some stuff for it to entice the tourists. Do you want to come inside and take a look? Actually, do you want my number as well? Here!
Damn, girl. You had this prepared.
Yeah, of course. You always seem to be ready in case any cuties walk into the store.
Girl! He's backed up so many times. I wouldn't want to sound like a hypocrite or anything. Ren looks at me with a shy, knowing look before he hesitantly reaches out to take the piece of paper. What did he mean by that? Before I even get the chance to ask, Ren already answers my silent question with red cheeks and a crooked smile. This is embarrassing, but I also had my number prepared for when we met at the library yesterday. Here. He reaches into his back pocket and pulls out a folded pink sticky note of his own before discreetly handing it to me, alongside Olivia's number as well. I don't want that! Huh? Why was he giving me her number as well? My confusion must have been blatantly obvious since Ren was quick to explain his intentions. With a mischievous grin, he leans closer to whisper into my ear. Maybe we could prank call her later. It'll teach her not to give her number out to strangers. But isn't that what you just did with me? We're not strangers anymore though. I match his teasing smile with my own as I run my thumb over the pink sticky note in my hand. Touché, but I've yet to receive any prank calls from you though. Well, you just gave me the number. Yeah, don't jinx it. I might still do that. Just as Ren lets out a puff of laughter at my joke, Olivia cuts him off.
Hello, I'm still here.
Yeah, we know. Okay. Oh, right, sorry.
Anyway, now that you've got my number and I've got your attention again, I think it's only fair I show you around the store.
Girl, you're doing way too much.
I don't do this for just anybody, you know.
Ren doesn't seem to answer her initial question, nor does he seem to outright respond to her, and instead cast an inquisitive glance in my direction. It was like he was asking me for my opinion, and I can only assume it was because he knew about my interest in anime. It was thoughtful of him to do that, but I kinda wanted him to tell that rude worker off instead. Wait, did I really want him to do that? What was wrong with me? Am I jealous too? I'm sure that the cashier just took an interest in him, and there was nothing wrong with that. It's not like we were a couple anyway. But we were supposed to be on a date right now, and Ren did declare himself as my boyfriend earlier. I just assumed he said that in order to get Teo off my back. Does that mean, was he feeling the same way as me? Was jealousy on his mind when we talked with Leon and Teo earlier? Oh my god. My character's a low-key stupid. And I wasn't sure how I felt about this new discovery. Felix? Huh? Do you want to go look at the items? We still got a bit of time to kill.
Yeah, why don't I show you the most recent stock? We haven't shown this to the general public yet, but I'm sure you'll love it.
Without warning, Olivia, was that her name? Reaches out for Ren's arm and practically drags him inside the store. He lets out a surprised sound before leaning back and trying to grab a hold of my own arm as well, but I was just out of his reach. There was nothing else I could do but watch as Ren helplessly gets pulled into the store.
It's back here in the stock rooms. Usually we don't allow customers downstairs, but you're a real hottie, so I'll let you take a sneak peek.
No, actually, I'm good.
Don't worry, we won't get caught. I'm sure your boyfriend won't mind if I borrow you for a bit.
So she knows that we're dating and she just doesn't care? Girl!
I'll even throw in some of those cartoon stickers for you. Surely that'll make it worth your time.
The wink she sends him felt a little excessive, and I honestly wished Ren would turn around so I could gauge his reaction. But instead, he leans in close to her face and whispers in a hushed tone that I could barely hear from my spot outside the store. Okay, I'm gonna say what I think he's saying.
If he wasn't standing there right now, I would have shoved your ass down the stairs without a second thought. And honestly, there's nothing more I'd rather do.
From their current position, it looked as though they were having a really intimate conversation, and I felt the sudden urge to look away. He's threatening her! Why was I getting so bothered over this? I know we aren't together, but Ren shouldn't be all flirting with other people while on a date with someone else. Babes, if you think him saying he wants to shove her down the stairs is flirting, you need help. Besides, this was exactly the type of thing Teo would do to me when we were dating. He'd go around shamelessly flirting with other people, sometimes while I was in the very same room. And what made it worse was that he'd simply laugh it off by saying that he was just messing around, and that I shouldn't be getting so worked up. Teo seemed like such an asshole. I honestly couldn't believe that Ren was doing the same thing to me right now. He's not though. But still, there was this nagging voice at the back of my head that kept telling me not to give up on him so easily. Ren was the one who confidently stood his ground when Teo got a bit too suggestive, so maybe I should do the same? Would he even mind? Before I can stop myself, my feet start to move on autopilot as I march toward the two of them and reach for Ren's sleeve. I give a hesitant tug, and I swear I could almost feel the relief wash over his body because of it. Ren's entire demeanor seems to change in that moment, and he turned to me with a relieved smile on his soft features. I don't really have any interest in this store. Can we go somewhere else so we're not getting the plushie?
Yeah, of course. Wait, hold on.
Ren carelessly shoves Olivia's outstretched hand aside and gently places an arm over my shoulder instead. And just like that, he's already guiding me out of the store and back into the busy street. I can hear Olivia splutter out confused sounds as she watches the two of us leave, and I suddenly felt guilty for causing a rift between them. No matter how many times I tried to brush it aside, I still couldn't get my mind off of what had just occurred earlier. What if Ren was interested in her? Girl. Granted, he probably shouldn't have blatantly flirted with her while on a date with me, but he wasn't exactly the most confident guy. He wasn't... So apparently now it's flirting to, whisper something to people. Bro... Would he still be able to talk to her again if things didn't work out between us? No, I shouldn't be thinking like that. Hearing up to gauge his expression, I noticed how he didn't really look all that upset about leaving her. If anything, he seemed rather content to be walking down the street with his fingers intertwined with mine, once more. I can feel him give my hand a protective squeeze as he looks down at me with his soft blue eyes, and all of my worries somehow melt away. Maybe I did make the right choice after all. It might have been selfish, but it was worth having Ren look at me with such a gentle expression. I only just noticed his nails are painted black. Eventually, the sun starts to sink behind the ocean as Ren and I continue to walk along the beach. We walked around for the entire day? Crazy. Most of the conversation was geared toward me and my interests again. But every time I tried to learn more about Ren, he only seemed to divert the conversation back to me once more. The more I focused on this odd behavior, the more I began to pick up on his social habits as well. I learned that Ren would subtly pick at the sleeves of his cardigan whenever he got nervous, or how he'd scratch at his jaw whenever the conversation strayed down a path he didn't feel comfortable with. His little quirks told me more about himself than the dead-end conversations that only led back to me, and I was content with knowing more about him than I did yesterday. Ren no longer felt like a stranger I had met at the library, but rather someone I could consider a friend. Except friends aren't supposed to get jealous whenever they see them flirt with someone else. Jeez, what was wrong with me? It had barely been 2 days and I was already contemplating whether or not I truly saw Ren in a romantic light. Was I going too fast? All of these thoughts were starting to get a bit overwhelming and... Angel, hello? Huh? You're spacing out on me again. There's that look again. He was peering down at me with so much adoration in his eyes, as if I didn't know any... And if I didn't know any better, I would think that he was already halfway in love with me. Bro, he is. But that was a very conceited thought and probably wasn't even true. Sorry, I was just thinking about things. Are you going to share those things with the rest of the class? Sends me a playful smile and a gentle tug and a gentle nudge into my side, and I couldn't help but laugh. When did we become so comfortable with each other? And when did he lose his stutter? Don't notice it. Oh, it's gonna come back. It's nothing really. Maybe a bit embarrassing, but, well, I was wondering how you feel about... My sentence gets cut short when a drop of rain lands on my cheek. Instinctively, I look up and find myself wondering how I didn't notice those dark clouds in the sky sooner. All of a sudden, more droplets fall down, until it's all but pouring rain and forcing everyone in the immediate area to find cover. Hi, Pebbles. Pretty baby. Over here. Ren doesn't seem to pay much attention when he grabs me by the wrist and pulls me underneath one of the awnings of a nearby building. He shields me from the rain with his body, and I couldn't help but feel tiny with the way his arms cage me in as he rests them against the wall. We look at each other in silence for a brief moment before erupting in laughter. Perhaps it was because of the adrenaline from all the panicked running, or the fact that Ren's hair was starting to lose its fluffiness, but I couldn't hold back from letting out a fit of giggles. This only seemed to spur Ren on as well, until we're both wheezing out our lungs and gulping down air. I can't remember the last time I ran that fast. Me too. The looming sound of thunder echoes from afar and drowns out our laughter until we're both silent once more. Once we both calm down, Ren moves me further away from the rain before casting a glance behind him. Wait here, I'll buy us an umbrella so you can get out of this rain. But you'll get soaked. It is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I roll my eyes at his corny joke and send him off with an amused smile. I don't mind getting caught in the rain. It makes my curly hair deflate, but I don't mind it, as long as it's not absolutely bucketing down. He doesn't look back before he makes a mad dash into the rain and down the street toward the closest convenience store. Though the rain only seems to get heavier the moment he leaves, and I find myself pressing even further against the wall behind me to avoid the recoil of the rain bouncing off the pavement. There wasn't much for me to do while I waited for Ren to return, aside from watching people scramble for shelter. And just like that, the carefree sounds of laughter echoing from down the street capture my attention as I watch Leon, Teo, and Jay all run to cover like their life depended on it. I knew they would come back. Well, it seems as though their beach outing got cut short as well. Glancing back once more, I barely make out the figure of Leon using his bag as a makeshift umbrella as he ducks under one of the awnings of an ice cream stand. All while Teo and Jay trail behind at a leisurely pace, kicking and splashing water at each other in the rain. I had to look away the moment Teo started to remove his shirt, and I had an inkling that it was so that he could show off. Knowing Jay, he'll follow along without a care in the world, because that's what he always does when it comes to his friends. Part of me feels like calling out to the group to see if I can wait out the storm alongside them, but they all seem to be enjoying themselves and don't want to get in between that. Plus, I did promise Ren that I'd wait here for him. Even if he was taking his sweet time. Was he ever going to return? There was still no sign of him or his comfy-looking cardigan. I was beginning to wonder if he really did ditch me. After all, it must have been more than 15 minutes by now. What if he got caught up or something? Or what if he went back to see that cashier lady again? Girl, you need to work on your insecurities. Their store did happen to be on the same street, but after spending the afternoon with Ren and getting to know him, I concluded that he wasn't the type of person to do such a thing. But if he was, then that would only add insult to injury, considering how Teo had done the same thing to me multiple times in the past. Although if I was being honest with myself, it did seem as though they had chemistry. Oh my god, dude. Especially with how she looked at him and touched his arm, as though it was the most natural thing in the world. So she apparently knew him as well, or at least, he looked recognizable enough. Why did that thought make my blood boil? Thankfully, the rain was there to cool me off, as well as soak the ends of my outfit and make everything feel downbound comfortable. Was Ren really coming back? It shouldn't take this long to buy an umbrella. Well, I mean, most people are probably like scrambling to buy umbrellas, right? Because there's probably a lot of people that got caught in the rain. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm gonna wait. Maybe something did come up. I'm sure he'll come back. As if on cue, I spot a familiar patch of pink hair from within the misty rain, frantically sprinting with an umbrella in one hand and a bag under the other. Angel? Felix? He almost slammed into me before stopping just in time, and I could tell by the way he was wheezing that he ran all the way back here without stopping. Sorry, I thought I almost lost you for a second. It's hard to see in this weather. Jeez, Ren, what took you so long? I always wanted to cuss him out for taking well over 20 minutes, just to buy a single umbrella, but the genuinely apologetic look on his features made me hold my tongue. Sorry, do you remember your friends from earlier? I ran into them on the way there, which took me forever to shake them off. And then the convenience store ended up closing early due to the sudden weather change. So then I had to go to that awful souvenir shop with that obnoxious and clingy cashier again, and she asked me if he was talking a mile a minute, and I was worried he'd end up biting his tongue. Gently, I raise a hand to signal him to calm down, and his intense monologue soon comes to a halt. I'm really sorry about making you wait so long, but... Ta-da! I did manage to get an umbrella, among other things as well. He gives it a small twirl in his hands, sending droplets of water all over the place. We can start heading back home now if you want, unless you want to go somewhere specific. I kind of want to go to his apartment, but something gives me the sense that he wouldn't let me go there. So, let's save. See if he'll let us go there. We can go to your apartment. My apartment? Sure, it's not that far anyway. We could wait out the storm there if you'd like. Oh, he's gonna let us go? Awesome. I even have a heater and a dryer we could use. The image of me sitting in front of a warm, cozy heater was too hard to resist, so I end up eagerly stepping under Ren's umbrella while he leads the way. Despite the heavy downpour of rain, we managed to make it to Ren's apartment complex in one piece. I guess he really wasn't lying when he said his apartment wasn't far from mine. But judging from the pristine interior and fully functioning elevators, his building seemed to be in far better shape compared to my apartment. The elevator ride could have been a little less awkward though, if it weren't for the slow ascent and tacky music. Or the fact that Ren deemed it appropriate to shake his hair like a wet dog and get water droplets everywhere. Once the elevator doors slid open, I was immediately met with a grandiose corridor and large spacious doors, and I found myself wondering how much it would cost to live in a place like this. Don't look too hard at how messy my place is, okay? I wasn't expecting to have someone over today, so I didn't bother cleaning up. I'm getting a weird sense of deja vu. Thankfully, I don't have any white-haired neighbors who like to take their plants on walks. Actually, now that I think about it, it's a bit strange, but no one lives on this floor aside from me. I'm not really sure why, but I'm not going to complain. I can make as much noise as I want, and no one would notice. Ren shoots me a mischievous grin, and I find myself wondering what he meant by that. Like loud music and stuff? Movies? Yeah, something like that. He unlocks the door with some electronic card attached to his keychain, and the moment the door swings open, I let out an audible gasp. Ren doesn't seem fazed in the slightest as he flicks on the lights and walks into his own home, but I could only stand at the entrance to his foyer in shock. Yes, foyer. He had a whole damn foyer in his apartment. Jesus, Ren, what the fuck? Or is this even an apartment? Surely a penthouse would have made more sense. Holy shit, Ren. Is there something wrong? What is it? I know the decor is kind of tacky, but it came with the apartment, and I haven't found the time to do anything about it yet. I'm sorry, but are you the long-lost heir of a billionaire or something? This place is huge. And hello, is that Marvel? No, I get paid a lot from my job, enough to afford rent at least. You know, I don't think I asked this yet, but what exactly is your job? My job is, well, I guess you could say I'm a programmer. I don't know, I just take on a few jobs every so often, nothing super fancy or anything. Nothing super fancy? Ren, you have marble flooring. I'm sorry I'm sniffing so much. I woke up with a sore throat and a sniffle, I'm not really sure. I think I might be getting sick. Leaving the newly discovered programmer at the entrance, I curiously venture further into his apartment. Marble's a pain in the rear end to clean too. Oh, and Angel, do you want some slippers? The floors can get cold and your shoes are probably soaked, right? Turning around, I notice Ren opening a small closet and pulling out a pair of dark house slippers. He looks at me with a curious expression but makes no effort to hand them over. Only if you want them. I'll take them, but only because they look like they're Gucci? Ren lets out a puff of laughter through his nose at my joke, but doesn't seem to deny it. Were these house slippers really from a luxury brand? As I put them on, I notice how they're an exact fit, and it makes me wonder if I just have average sized feet, or if Ren had bought a bunch of expensive house slippers in varying sizes. But as funny as that imagery was, how did he accurately guess my shoe size without seeing my feet? Oh my god! Here, why don't I show you to the bathroom? I'll find you something to wear in the meantime while your clothes are in the dryer. Or would you prefer a towel instead? I guess that'd make more sense. Sorry, I don't usually invite people over. Seeing his timid side resurface once more gave me the sudden urge to tease him. Just a towel? Nothing else? Yeah, to keep you warm instead of taking a shower, unless you'd prefer a blanket because I'm pretty sure I have an electric. Oh. It was as if all the gears inside his head were finally clicking together. No, I didn't mean. I meant a towel that you can wear over your clothes, not just you in a towel. Unless you'd want to, but why would you? I'm just gonna shut up now, sorry. That wasn't what I meant at all, but his reaction was priceless nonetheless. Anyway, I'll show you to the bathroom. You can use whatever you want in there, nothing's off limits. First it was offering to spend the night at my place, then it was asserting himself as my boyfriend in front of my friends. Really doesn't care about personal boundaries, huh? I was beginning to think that Ren didn't really seem to mind when it came to me invading his personal bubble as well. Though he still seemed pretty standoffish around Teo and Leon, and it took him a while to warm up to Eleanor back at the library. He even seemed indifferent when he first met Violet, but I figured it was only because he was shy. Speaking of being shy, I still noticed how Ren didn't seem to be switching up his personality as much anymore, and I was beginning to think he was showing me his real side. Up until now, everything felt real and genuine, and I found that we could bounce back witty retorts between each other more easily. Though every now and again, He might slip up and stutter, but I just assume it was because my teasing made him flustered. So maybe the timid side of him was genuine after all, or he's just getting better at it. But I'll leave some clothes for you outside and put the plushie I bought for you in your room. Huh? Oh, yeah, thanks. What do you mean my room? Great, I was zoning out again and I completely missed half of what he was saying. Something about clothes and a plushie he bought? Was he talking about the Haruko plushie I was eyeing earlier? I mean, he was carrying a gift bag from the souvenir shop earlier. Did he really buy me that toy? Ren, however, doesn't seem to pick up on my confusion though, and invitingly opens the bathroom door for me with a soft smile. Also, without trying to make things awkward, I quickly slip inside and lean against the door for support. Which was fortunate for me, because one sweep of the bathroom had me stumbling back in surprise. Whoa. Even his restroom looked expensive. I was afraid of touching anything, fearing I'd eventually break it and end up paying for it. That is a huge shower. Glancing around again, I noticed how his countertop seemed to be void of any dental care, hairbrushes and skincare products. There were a few bottles of concealer and an open box of hair dye sit in the corner near the sink. Well, I guess that answers my burning question on whether or not he naturally had pink hair. But now it made me wonder, if Ren does dye his hair, what was his natural hair color? There were still so many things I didn't know about that soft-looking guy. I was beginning to question whether coming here was a good idea or not. With a sigh, I decided not to waste any more time thinking about irrelevant things, and instead turned my attention back to the shower. Quickly stripping out of my clothes, I jumped into the unnecessarily large glass booth and turned the water on. Glancing at Ren's shelf of, albeit limited, hair and body products, I couldn't help but notice that one brand in particular happened to be the exact same as mine. If we used the same body wash, he didn't really smell like me, but maybe that was because I wasn't paying much attention. I mean, who randomly smells people out of the blue anyway? Some people. Shaking my head at such a silly notion, I began to scrub away the lingering smell of rain from my body and quickly finished washing up. Bundled in a warm towel, I crack open the large door and poke my head out into the hallway. True to his word, Ren left a small pile of clothing outside the bathroom, neatly stacked and propped against the side of the wall. Are they gonna, perfectly be my size? Bringing the contents back inside, I noticed that one pile of clothing in particular was a rather comfy-looking hoodie. That the design on the front, however, was rather morbid-looking and didn't really suit Ren's vibes. Maybe from a horror film or something. Yeah. Shrugging my shoulders, I put the hoodie on and instantly get enveloped by the sheer amount of fabric. Okay, it is just Ren's clothes. I mean, it made sense considering Ren's large and lanky frame, but it was just absurd. I had to stifle a laugh from the amusing sight in the fogged-up mirror, but I had to admit that the soft fabric felt nice and warm against my skin. Even the scent that came from it felt oddly comforting somehow. Turning back to the remaining clothes in the pile, I gently pick up the next item and try to put it on. The grey sweatpants didn't seem to fit the length of my legs despite the number of times I tried to tug at the fabric. But luckily, Ren was thoughtful enough to give me other alternatives. The dark pair of shorts seemed like the better option, especially since it came with a drawstring and deep pockets. Once I was fully dressed, I step out of the bathroom and aimlessly walk around until I hear the faint sounds of a TV playing. Feeling curious, I follow the source of the sound down the hallway. Breaking news. A sudden storm hits the bay as a gale force winds and knock over street signs and even awnings. Meteorologists believe that this sudden change in weather will die down soon, and to stay safe indoors. I continue to follow the noise until it suddenly cuts out and changes into a glaring monotone sound, indicating that the television must have lost all signal. Damn! And soon enough, I find myself in Ren's spacious lounge room. Aside from the TV, the rest of the lights were off, but I could still make out most of the dark shapes within the room with ease. It was just as ostentatious as the rest of the house, though I couldn't help but feel like it lacked any form of life. It just didn't seem like someone actually lived here. The furniture was gaudy yet tasteless. The There was hardly any personal decoration or colors, and there was nothing that really screamed Ren to me. There were no personal touches, photos, items, hobbies, nothing. Just tacky furniture and the bland smell of something sterile. If I was being honest, it gave off the same vibe as a dentist's clinic or hospital. I mean, he did mention recently moving in, right? Maybe that's why. Oh, he's changed! Who moved in? Surprised by the sudden voice, I spin on my heel only to find Ren coming out from one of the hallways with a new set of comfy clothing. He seemed much more at ease like this, especially with the gentle expression on his face. I watch as he takes a respectful glance at my attire before sheepishly averting his attention to the ends of his sleeve. Sorry, that was the only pair of clothing I could find that might fit you. It looks really good on you though. Oh, thanks. You can even keep them if you want. The sound of thunder rumbling in the distance cuts off Ren's rumbling, and I involuntarily step closer to him. Without missing a beat, he reaches out and rests a protective hand on my shoulder to steady me. Ren idly glances out the window before turning his undivided attention back to me once more, only this time with a determined look. It's really pouring, huh? I could only nod my head at his words, suddenly feeling sheepish all of a sudden. I really should have checked the weather forecast before I went out today. But to be fair, it didn't look as though it had started spontaneously raining when I left my apartment this morning. And I guess I was enjoying my time with Ren to the point where I didn't even realize the weather was turning sour. Angel? Sorry, what did you say? I just asked if you wanted to stay the night here. You know, seeing how hard it's raining out there. And your clothes haven't finished drying yet. It'd be no trouble. And I could return the favor considering how you let me stay at your apartment yesterday. Staying at his place for the night? Well, this certainly isn't how I expected to end my day. Beautiful. But would it really be that bad? It definitely beats waiting out the storm and walking home with a bunch of puddles everywhere. The options are spend the night or spend the night. Okay. We're spending the night, I suppose. I don't like the way this one's flickering, so I'm gonna pick the non-flickering option. Oh, damn. I've been recording for ages. Okay, well, spend the night. I guess I could stay, if that's really okay with you. Let me save. I didn't realize I'd been recording for so long. We will end it here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.